Good morning, everybody. I am Abigail Jacobs, and I'm your host today. Thank you for coming and listening in to our panel with our youth workforce. We have a good conversation on deck for you, and all of our wonderful panelists here today. Thank you for hopping up on stage with me. We've got Konwawennenhawi, who is a rockbuster, and we also have Maddy Deom, who is studying in environmental sciences. Gracie Diabo is joining us, and she's an engineering student. Shina Novalinga, who you may know from her Instagram and social media influence work, and Rotshennón, who is studying in the medical fields. We have lots of different paths today to explore with you and learn about. And I'm going to pass out an extra mic here. So we're going to share this mic, you and us. And Gracie, you're going to take care of this one down on this end. All right, and as you pull inspiration from our guests today, I would want to kick off with our first question and knowing what inspired you to get down into the career path that you're now on. What was your inspiration to join your career path?
Okay. So for myself, just I guess a little bit of background. Right now, I'm in my second year of medical school at McGill, and I'm also working part time as a paramedic. So during my first year and a little bit of the undergrad year, I was doing night courses at the Kahnawà Fire Brigade, and now I'm working part time. That journey for me started. I think I fully committed to the medical field when I was maybe in like in the 8th grade. I started exploring different. I was like, what do I want to do? Back when I was at Tewatohnhi'saktha, I always liked working with people. I liked helping people. I never liked to see people upset. So whenever I saw someone who was, whether it was like they were sad or whatnot, I was always, I guess gravitated towards them to try to cheer them up in some way. I also really like teaching, and then the more I started doing some science courses in high school, that's when I realized I really liked taking care of people, and that's sort of what sparked my interest in going that route. And yeah, I'm sure there's a little more, but thrown on the spot there. So I'll let you guys maybe continue as well.
Hello, I'm Shina Nova, and I'm a content creator for a couple of years now. And the reason why I chose this career path is that I saw that there was not enough representation for Indigenous and Inuit content creators. And I remember downloading TikTok and scrolling and seeing Michelle Chubb, James Jones, feeling so confident, loving who they are and being so proud of themselves. And they really paved the way for me to be confident in myself and share beautiful aspects of Inuit culture. So it was really thanks to them that kind of inspired me to choose this path.
I think I kind of echo you in the way of representation. When I got to CEGEP after high school, I knew I wanted to do something in science, but I wasn't completely sure what. But then I thought of engineering, and I was like, well, that's fun. Because I feel like in high school, well, at least where I went, and you like science, you're kind of pushed towards like medical school or like the health space. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll do that. But then I'm like, that's not for me. But when I got to CEGEP, I learned more about engineering. So I was like, okay, I like solving problems and doing more science stuff, but I don't want to be a doctor. So it took a lot of time in CEGEP to learn about the different engineerings because there's like way too many. Like I think at McGill there's like more than 10 like disciplines. And so I think I was actually inspired to do like software engineering when in my last year of CEGEP I took a course called Physics for Engineers, and we were basically given this super open-ended problem to like build a boat out of like styrofoam and recycled materials and like make it move in the water, and like I like coded for the first time, and so that like kind of showed me like what's possible in engineering school. And then I ended up applying to a bunch of different programs in engineering, and I ultimately decided on software at McGill because like just looking at the courses itself, I wanted to learn how to program, and it looked interesting to me. And then also there is a co-op program that I'm a part of, and that basically means that you do like work placements while you're studying. And so I thought it was super cool to be able to have like that experience while I'm still in university. And so that's like what led to my decision. But I'm definitely like inspired by being like the only one in the room that is like an Indigenous woman in engineering, and constantly trying to be that representation, and being that through like different organizations I'm a part of, like the Women in Engineering Club at McGill, and also there's Advancing Indigenous People in STEM, which is like across Canada and the US, and so that's been amazing to be a part of as well. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm Kahsennarò, Maddy, Deom. I did my undergrad in environmental science, but now doing my master's in fishery science. I'm a part of the Center for Indigenous Fisheries. My sister's filming me right now. And yeah, like, I think I got into it. I don't know why I decided to go into like environmental science, but I think part of it has to do with my mom. She does environmental engineering. And also just like going through my studies, I was never really like a hard sciences person. Like I'm not like a physics person, I'm not a chemistry person, that never fit with me. I really like went towards ecosystems, so like how different species interact with their environments was really interesting to me. And then I go to the University of British Columbia and was looking for an Indigenous professor to mentor me, and I found Dr. Andrea Reed, who is a Niska fishery scientist. And she, like, I'm not a fish person. I've always been like a forest person, a terrestrial person. I don't know anything about water or fish. But her and her lab really taught me about, you know, the West Coast perspective of fish. So a lot of salmon, a lot of ocean sciences. And it's brought me here to do my master's on Konwawennenhawi knowledge on sturgeon and the St. Lawrence. So I'm really excited to start that.
Hi, I'm Konwawennenhawi. So I wasn't really, I guess, inspired to become an iron worker. There's a lot of iron workers in my family. I am actually a fourth generation iron worker. My father, my grandfather, and my great grandfather. I started iron working because one of my uncles, his wife worked at the adult education center, and they were starting like a cohort with the ironworking school. And he said, "What are you doing right now? Why don't you go and, apply for this course?" At the time I was a waitress, and there was actually a fire in the kitchen, so I wasn't really doing anything. But I was really intimidated to become an iron worker because it's a man's thing, That's what I always kind of thought and saw all my life. And I purposely missed the deadline so that I could say, well, I missed it, I forgot, And he just kept pushing me and just go. What do you have to lose? You're not working right now. You're not doing anything. Just go and try it out. You have nothing to lose. Go for it. So I did, and I did the aptitude test, which I was terrified of because all through school I could not sit in a classroom. I couldn't do tests, anything like that. But I passed, and I got accepted, and that's where my journey started. I ended up falling in love with it when I was in school, mostly because it's a very physically demanding job, and I was always active all my life. So to go into something where you're physically active all day, every day, I loved it. I worked for 6.5 years Right now, I'm not working because I actually got injured on the job, which is something that happens often. And it's turning out to be worse than I originally thought it was. So actually, I will be having a change in career. I literally just last minute on a whim, let's try this, you know, I signed up for school and I unexpectedly got accepted. So I will actually be going to college at 30 years old to be a special care counselor, which is actually the start of a journey to go into social work, which I wanted to do years ago. Even as a child, I wanted to be a counselor, but becoming a teenager and having all those mixed emotions and thinking, I don't want to do that, you know, it's not something. Here I am at 30 years old, changing my career and going into something that, like Konwawennenhawi said, was always kind of deep in my bones, I guess. So,
That's so interesting because my next question, you know, Rotshennón, you said like since grade 8 and even as a child, you always knew you wanted to help people and you always enjoyed your environmental sciences and your engineering and things, but did you, either of you, always know that you wanted to do this kind of work, or now is your journey taking some turns along the way? How has this journey, you know, has it always been linear and that target, or have there been some twists and turns? Like for you, you're going back to school and you're taking a curve right back to where you originally wanted to be.
Yeah, I really did not think that I would do anything other than ironwork. I really did love the job, and I had so many plans, like to become a boss and to have my own jobs and, you know, all of these things. And it just, everything kind of just kept happening one after another. And school, the hours are kind of short during the day, so I was like, oh, I could go to school and continue working, you know, I'd work out the two of them and I don't have to like go ironworking right away. And the day that I kind of had that thought, because where my classes are is literally 6 minutes down the road from the last job site that I was on. I said, wow, it's like meant to be, you know? And then that day I got hurt. I hurt my shoulder and I've been off ever since. So it's kind of almost like the universe is doing certain things in order to make my path the way it's, you know, the way it's supposed to be.
Definitely. And for Shina, for you, your industry is rather new. Like, I mean, social media and being a content creator and an influencer, it's a new industry and you're embarking on. You said you had some inspiration, but was this something like a media career or things like this that you always knew you wanted to do, or did it just kind of inspiration led you?
No, when I was a little kid, I wasn't like, in the future, I want to be a content creator. I want to be a YouTuber or Instagram and whatever. It just naturally came to me, but, you know, growing up, I wanted to be a business owner. I went to a business administration program and graduated in that and started my own eyelash extensions business. I love being in the beauty industry and it's still a part of me today, but it just came naturally, and yeah, you never know. It was something I was doing on the side for fun, and even though I was a full-time student and I was doing lashes on the side, with the little time, the little window that I had, I was making content and filming it and posting it, and look where it got me. Now I have an amazing team with me, and I get to meet new people every day and be part of events like this one. So I feel really grateful for that.
Cool. What has been the biggest challenge you think you faced so far in your careers, and how did you deal with that? What are some challenges we face? I mean, an injury, huge career challenge, and changing up. Maddy, have you maybe seen some challenges?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm not the best student ever. I between like CJIP and university, I failed like 5 courses. And like at the end of high school, I was not like I was also failing courses in high school. Like I was not into school at all. But I think like part of the reason why I kept going was like I don't want to disappoint my mom. I don't want her to be mad at me. But also like I was like I don't know what else I'm gonna do if I don't like finish this degree. And it's really like I really loved what I was doing. I just like I didn't have like the brain to be doing this kind of sciencey stuff. And then I started doing like indigenous focused like stewardship courses, and that really helped me get through it. And I also had like really great like teachers in university who like got me through it. There was this one teacher that I was working for who like opened up lab space for me to study when I needed help. I like made a lot of friends who were in the same situation as me, and we would study together, and that helped a lot. But yeah, just otherwise like the hard sciences, like Western sciences, just was not my thing until I started doing like an indigenous approach to like conservation, and that really helped me. So just like it doesn't like keep you in one bubble, it like opens it up to you. I think that was really what got me out of that little rut there.
Challenge?
Yeah, so I was just kind of reflecting on the last kind of two questions that you were asking, and so just quickly I'll just touch on the first one with the
Yeah, did you always know? Was it a linear path or did it take some curves?
yeah. So for me, I knew again right from the start. I really enjoyed like working with people. I liked talking with people, just connecting. And a big thing for me, at the time I really was like I really want to teach. So whether it was going to be through my years at Kahnawà with learning our language, that was always a really important part of what I wanted to do. And so I always knew I wanted to teach in some capacity. I also looked at things like maybe like a therapist or like a psychologist. And like I was saying, throughout this like the science courses through high school, once we started learning about like anatomy, physiology, biology, really getting to understand how the body works, I thought like I was just super fascinated. That's something that I was just like, wow, like there's so much to learn here, so much that we could do to, just thinking about how like what is disease, what is like just understanding what does it mean to be healthy, and that was definitely always something where that's where kind of that interest started, and as I've gone through, I realized that through whether it's medicine, any healthcare field, there's so many opportunities for teaching, and like even up to this point, I did some training in point of care ultrasound, and so regularly I'm an instructor for ultrasound, teaching other medical students, and really so there's that passion can be taken into really anywhere within the healthcare field, and I'm really grateful. I had the opportunity even to bring in the language into the schooling that I've been doing at McGill. So I was very fortunate for my we have like a family medicine placement in our first year of medical school, and for my second half of the year, I was very lucky that I got to be placed with a physician here from the community at Kahsennarò Memorial, and that was just really, that was so encouraging, getting to be here within the community, getting to take care of our own people. And for me, one of the nicest parts was getting to bring in the language. Working as a paramedic, I often, if we come up to a patient's house and then we find out that they're a speaker, I always try my best to bring in whatever, just to bring Maddy back into that care. And
I could imagine that if somebody's like in an emergency, it kind of distracts, eh? It's like, oh wait, I'm gonna switch into Konwawennenhawi and not worry about my emergency.
Yeah. It's always keeping in mind, right? Like it's always we'll do our assessment first, make sure everything's taken care of. But then once we have the opportunity, things calm down, then we can really, for me, that's, and I've noticed for a lot of, whether it's from babies all the way up to elders who might be close to, say, like palliative care or whatnot. It's it's just so rewarding, and you can see how the language heals, and you can see people are just comforted by, even if it's just a little bit that they can get.
Make that connection.
Yeah, so that was a big part, and that kind of tied into, for me, one of the biggest challenges with this pathway in medicine. Medical school is hard. There's no question about it. It's a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of headaches, a lot of deadlines. There's a lot of things that you need to do aside from just studying. There's a lot of expectations there, and for myself, what I found the most challenging was trying to find a comfortable balance. And even though I'm in school just across the bridge in Jogjaga, it's not. I still felt like there was like a disconnection. Like I was, a part of me was being not neglected, but like I wasn't nurturing a part of me, and that was, for our culture, our language, there was a part of me that was missing, and I started to notice, things it wasn't coming as smoothly. My mind started to get a little bit heavier. Just even some like physical health things that were starting to come up, that I knew like something isn't. I got to change something up here. And so for me, something that's been really helpful is I joined the Kahnawà class right here in the community with Tewatohnhi'saktha, and so being able to, on the weekly, after some of my classmates here actually, getting to re-immerse back in the language, that's been so important for my mental health, and it's helped me continue on this path, and every week clearing my mind, and re-grounding myself in some of our back into the community, and that gives me that extra push to to continue chugging along through school. So
I love that. No, and a lot of you, I really appreciate that everybody here has had that recircling and getting that push out of your comfort zone by grounding yourself back in community and culture, and coming back to the community and using that while you're traveling on in your careers. Gracie, has there been anything for you that helped to push you out of your comfort zone or face a challenge while you've been on your journey?
Yeah, I guess I'll also kind of do a two-part answer. Growing up, I did not know what an engineer was. I feel like if you're in school, like growing up, and people think you're smart, they say become a doctor or become a lawyer. And I did not know what engineering was. But like I said before, I went to high school in the West Island, and I did a lot of sports. And then after that, I went to CEGEP at John Abbott, and I did a 3-year program in science and social science. And that came from because I wanted to do science, but I also really had an interest in like history and learning about political science. And like sometimes like when you pick programs for like higher education, you kind of are like siloed into studying one thing, and it was kind of a struggle at first to pick. But I eventually did that, and I'm very happy that I did that, because it also allowed me like more time to choose what I wanted to do in university. And so like through that journey, I guess, I found out more about engineering, and then picking software engineering. Like honestly, going into the program, I didn't even fully know what it was, but I thought it was just like, oh, I'm gonna learn how to code. But it's like so much more than that, and basically like software engineering is just kind of all like designing, implementing, like maintaining software. Like software is literally anything, like a website, like Facebook, or apps on your phone, or even like inside your computer, like building a computer, or the radios in your car. Like literally like everything you can think of that is like software related, like it's related to software engineering. And so when I first started at McGill, like that kind of opened like this big like box, I guess, of like what is possible. And yeah, I definitely like learned a lot, and I really like started to enjoy like the project experiences, like working in teams to like either build a website or like build a robot that has to do certain things, and also like write papers to learn about like business proposals and engineering or things like that. So that's been super interesting, and like challenges that have come up were definitely like same. Engineering school is hard. My first year was very difficult because a lot of my peers came in with programming experience and I had zero. Well, a tiny project in Seja. And so my first year was so difficult to like just grasp what is programming and coding in like more than 3 different languages in my first year. And seeing like my friends like get it easier than I did was like really tough. And then also part of my program, I have to like find an internship or a job every summer. And so that in your first year, when you have little to no programming experience, is very difficult. And it like still is something you have to work towards every year while you're studying. And so that's been another challenge. And I think like another challenge that we could like all relate to, at least in university, is like the representation itself. Like I am like the only Indigenous person that I know of, at least like in my department. I think there's like, I can count on one hand how many other engineering like Indigenous students there are at McGill. So that's kind of difficult to work with. But besides that, within my department, electrical, computer, and software engineering are very male dominated. And so that like that double layer is something that's very hard to deal with. But through that, like Ritzy has found like his way, I have also found my way like through joining like the Women in Engineering Club at McGill and leading it now. And so that has been an amazing experience to like gain friends and gain community, and also like the resources at McGill, like the First People's House, and yeah, kind of, you know, getting with the community to make me feel more welcome.
Amazing. You know, you spoke about engineering being a very male-dominated industry. And I think also, Konwawennenhawi, you can also talk to that as well. Like, what training, skills, or experiences helped you succeed when you're entering this male-dominated area, or it was something that you didn't think you would do, but you gave it a shot? Do you feel like there were things that helped you, training or experiences that helped you push through and find your way?
Not really any specific trainings, but doing my best to really learn myself and who I am, and trying to build on that confidence of not being afraid to say who I am and stand my ground is really something that I had to work hard on. Because being around men all day, every day, you know, their train of thought is different. The way they think about things is different. Their sense of humor is different. The way they talk to each other is different. There were so many challenges in the beginning of constantly having to prove myself, because the first thing they see is a girl on their job, you know, and they see weakness or somebody who's not going to be as fast or quick or as good as everybody else because I'm a girl. And they're always, you know, giving me the easy jobs or telling me to do small little things because they don't know my capabilities. And I've had to, as difficult as it was, put myself out there. You know, I've questioned bosses, like, why are you putting me on this? Why are you putting me on that? How come I'm not over there with those guys? Oh, and, you know, a lot of, you know, I get that reaction a lot from guys. And it took maybe I'd say about 2 years. After the first 2 years, it came to a point where I would show up to a job and they already knew who I was, even though I never even met them before. In a good way, and none of it was really in a bad way, I guess. Like that standing my ground, a lot of it was that, you know, they knew that I didn't really take crap from anybody. Which is something that you really have to have the confidence to do, especially in construction. Also, the language barrier was a huge thing in the beginning, because they see my name and right away they're like, well, is there something else we can call you, or do you speak French? And, you know, right away they see like I'm native and, well, she doesn't speak French and she doesn't, you know, understand anything. And I actually learned a lot on the job. I had a few people that I actually went to school with and worked with that had a hard time with that, learning the French. And, you know, you learn things at KSS or in high school or growing up, and you develop certain feelings towards, non-native people because of our history, and that's something that you kind of have to try to get through if you want to work in construction, because it's not just about, for yourself and getting through that, because you carry that with you and it's heavy on yourself, even though it's, in the past you still used to carry it, it becomes heavy. But also it opens up so many opportunities to be able to kind of get over that, that fence. I've seen a lot of guys who would refuse to learn French or communicate in French, and it sucks to say that they lost jobs because of it, but there's so much out there, and if you keep your blinders on, it kind of prevents a lot of things from happening, a lot of doors from opening. I was actually given the opportunity to take a course on being a boss because I was so open to learning, to speak another language and to communicate with all kind of different people. I wasn't ready at the time, but once I got through that, I still can't hold a conversation in French. I have, if you sit there and talk to me, I have no idea what you're saying. But for job site French, the materials, how to do the work, different, things like that, I know, and I have no issue communicating with that. Again, that took a couple of years, and it actually took a whole year straight of working with a guy who had not a single word in English that he could say. So somebody who couldn't speak French and somebody who couldn't speak English, working together every day for about a year is what really kind of helped me. And also it felt good because at the end of it, he's asking me, what time is it? Very broken, but he's saying, what time is it? And he never spoke a word of English in his life, and now he's speaking English to me and putting himself out there to speak English and to try to put the effort. If you put the effort in for your coworkers or your peers, then they're gonna give that to you in return and put in some effort for you as well. And that was something that really helped me to see, like, okay, if I put myself out there and I actually try, it's not gonna be so hard. Because that first year was very difficult. I'd stand there like, what did he say? What do we do now? And I don't have that issue anymore. And it also helped me to build that confidence, within myself, not just for work and speaking French, but with so many other things.
And for Shina or Maddy, were there things that helped to push you out of your comfort zone? Were there things that you found that, if there was training or skills that really helped you to succeed in your field?
I guess doing my work with the Center for Indigenous Fisheries, there's a lot of, obviously, fishery scientists, and they're doing a lot of, hands-on work, so I can't stress enough how little I knew about fish before doing this master's. But we went onto the Fraser River and we did net fishing, and so we would go full body into the water with our dry suits and pull the net around with the Sumas Nation, and we would handle chum and just test their capabilities, or end of life chum. Some Chinook were in there too. That was something I've never done before, and it was really cool. And even with the environment office here, we've done fish sampling here. That's been something I've never done before, and it just keeps me wanting to stay on this path.
Yeah.
And honestly, doing things I'm doing more speaking engagements about my studies and talking about what I'm gonna be doing. Yeah. And that's helped me because I've never been a very strong public speaker before, and I hate it. But it gets easier and easier as you go on, and it's hard to put the spotlight on yourself sometimes, when you're talking about your own work. You have to make yourself seem more important than you feel. But it gets better each time I do it. And yeah, just
you're doing great.
But yeah, also getting to talk to so many people from different nations, on the West Coast, in the interior BC, in the Great Lakes, in the Maritimes. It's been such an honor to learn about knowledge everywhere. In the Yukon too, we have some like Caribou people up there. It's been so cool, like doing this work, and like it's not just my work at UBC. It's with like the environment office here too that has helped me do that stuff. So just like talking to people in Kahnawà has been like awesome for my career.
Yeah. And Shina, for you, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, you said that you did business administration and then transferred those skills over to here. How have you found that these things have helped you to succeed?
Ooh. Well, I agree with you with what you said about public speaking. I always get so anxious and so nervous, even now. And I always try to put myself out of my comfort zone, because I know at the end, after this, it will feel rewarding to do these types of events. And with my type of job and career and field, you have to keep putting yourself out there. And it's funny because I can speak to millions of people online, but then, when I'm in a group setting, I get so anxious, but that's okay too. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay to have these feelings and to be human. But what's important is to put yourself out there, to be uncomfortable, because you never know what will come back to you. And yeah, that's what I always strive for, to be a little bit uncomfortable and see what comes afterwards.
Yeah, that's how you grow. That's cool. And were there any resources in your community that played a role in helping you get to where you are now? For all of you, yeah. Okay, well, for Shina, specifically you educate through your platform about your culture, and you work a lot with your mom. So how is that for you as a resource?
Yeah, my mom, she's always been the one guiding me, and since I was a little girl, she would always look at me straight in the eyes and give me that love and confidence that I always needed. If I had a little ounce of doubt, she was just always there to kind of put that away and give me self-confidence. I think that's one of the biggest skills that she had taught me growing up that I still carry today. So I'm really grateful to have that nurturing love coming from my mom. I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for her, honestly.
So for community resources, stuff that's really helped me. First, I would say just family and community. That was number one. Having a solid support network to really, be able to go through this type of field. That's at the root of it. I think that's what allowed me to make that leap and head in that direction. Also the Kahnawà Education Center with the with the student funding. That's been definitely a big help. Whether it's paying for the post-secondary students, there's for your textbooks, any supplies that you need. They have a technology refund. All of this has been so helpful to just going through schooling. I also for myself have been a recipient of the Gracie Memorial Scholarship for a couple of years now, and that's been another key thing for me that's pushed me, and them giving back to try to help students pursuing careers in healthcare. It really pushes you. Outside of that, there's also in Quebec there's a program for Indigenous students where they have reserved seats in the 4 faculties of medicine through Quebec. So there's McGill, University of Montreal, University of Laval, and University of Sherbrooke. So all 4 faculty of medicine have, I believe they're up to maybe around 10 reserved seats that they share for Konwawennenhawi students. And again, that's to understand that for all of us coming from community, we have different challenges from other students, and just some that I can note for myself that I've noticed was even just when there's a death in the community, grief hits us differently, from non-Konwawennenhawi. Especially coming from a small community like ours, it takes a toll on you, even if you don't know them, right? Even if they're just even if they were like, say a neighbor, you're just a community member, like it hits you, And another thing, pursuing healthcare, right? Especially from an Konwawennenhawi community, is that in a way, the way I see it is kind of like the stakes are a bit higher. It's more personal. The reason, like, we're going into this, and there's expectations as well that you're going to come back and take care of our communities, and there's a lot of challenges with that, right? And even through my work as a paramedic, it's often, sometimes we're responding to calls for family or for friends that you grew up with. Maybe it was like teachers that you had in growing up. It makes it all the more personal, and so that's I'd say, like, the stakes are higher, and for that's why there's these reserved seats to really show that each of us, if that's what you're interested in going into medicine, or I believe they have similar programs for other fields, but we do belong in these fields, right? You often won't see many of us. I know in my cohort, I'm the only Konwawennenhawi student for out of maybe like 250 at McGill, but we're growing. I know for our community here, we actually have 4 Konwawennenhawi that are studying in the medicine program. So we have 1 in each year. We actually have a 4th year medical student, Craig Sty over here. So that's been one of the best things, is that support network, right? So often we'll gather just to really be there for each other, because it is a heavy program, especially considering all of these other realities of being from a small community.
Yeah. So we have about 10 minutes left, and if anybody has any questions, I'm going to field my last question for us today. But if anybody has anything that they're itching to ask, I will give you the opportunity before we go. So as my last question to you all, if somebody here wanted to go and follow a similar path as to what you guys have gone down, what would you suggest that they focus on?
I'll give maybe just a quick, I'll just give a quick piece. I would say, just no matter what you're going to pursue, don't feel like you need to give up your language, your culture. Keep that. If that's really important to you, keep that. Keep learning the language. That's at the end of the day, that's what's helped me and given me the motivation to keep going. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. Keep learning the language.
For me, it would, if you want to be a content creator, my advice would be to stop overthinking. Sometimes we plan all these things that in your head, and then you get so confused at the end, you don't end up doing your task or your goals. So I think it's important to stop overthinking, to if you want to be a content creator, I don't have the biggest setup. I don't have the best camera and the best lighting, and I just have my phone. I have my idea, and then I create the content. I film it and I edit it and I post it, and it's as simple as that with everything. If you have a goal in your mind, and it's an advice that I should be taking as well, but to just take it step by step, take it easy, and just start on it. And you never know, again, where it will take you. Just start it. That's my advice.
I think to become an engineer, it's kind of a long, educational path that you can't really get to, by other avenues. I mean, to become an engineer in Canada, you have to do, a Bachelor of Engineering within an accredited program. And then even after you graduate your bachelor, you're not technically an engineer. then you have to join, like in any province you live in, if you want to become like a professional engineer in the order of engineers, then you have to like become an engineer in training and work under one for 2 years. And then you like take a test and then you become a professional engineer. And that is like important if say you're like a civil engineer, because you're going to be signing off on work for like bridges and roads and buildings, and even like mechanical engineering, which is like kind of involved in like a lot of the engineerings, that's like cars, like robots, like all of that moving things, so that's like really important. But like for example, for my type of engineering, a lot of people I know like don't necessarily work as an engineer after they graduate, and for me a lot of the work is as like a software engineer in like a technology company, like for example like the big social media companies or large banks, like technically like any company you could think of will probably need some type of like technology software engineer type person, because just think like they have websites, they have databases, they have software, so they'll need like help with that. So yeah, like a Bachelor of Engineering, I mean, like a lot of paths like aren't linear until that point. I know like there's some people in my cohort that have done like a totally different bachelor degree before like also doing a second bachelor now in engineering, which is kind of crazy. But like for me, at least in Quebec, like going into Cégep and completing like your science prerequisites, and then going into like a Bachelor of Engineering would be like the classic route, but you don't always have to follow that.
Classic. I like that. And Maddy, if somebody wanted to follow a similar path, what do you suggest that they focus on for environmental sciences?
I kind of echo what everyone has said already. Like, yeah, like, also, my path, you don't have to go, I feel like I shouldn't be saying this, but you don't have to go into academia to do my path. Like, I'm a huge advocate for doing conservation at like a citizen science level, because we have so many elders in this community and other communities that could have PhDs right now, but it's just their knowledge isn't recognized. And like, there's so many people in our community, like people who I've worked with at the environment office who don't have like graduate degrees, but they're so much smarter than I am. They have so much more knowledge than I do. And so I think just like keep following your interests if you're into like ecosystem relationships, conservation, fishery sciences. Just keep following that as a hobby. But if you want to do it in academia as well, I would say that, again, like it's not linear, like you can go through any path, like you can do any kind of sciences to get there. Just talk to as many professors as possible. I just talked to like any professor really who would have me as like an undergraduate student and work for them, like in their lab. I worked in like blueberry farms, I worked with bees, I worked with snakes at Kipo, you know, like I did like so many random jobs to get to where I am now. And like my original goal wasn't to be like working in indigenous fisheries, or we even do like fish outlaw stuff, the criminalization of indigenous fisheries. Like I would never like do that before I talk to the people that I talk to. So I just say like any opportunity that you see presented to you, go for it. And any like indigenous professor who's in like earth sciences or like conservation, like talk to them, because they might have connections that you wouldn't even think that they would have at like the university that you're interested in or otherwise too.
Okay, I forgot to add something that I wanted to mention about like when I was talking about like a linear path like towards engineering. I know that Concordia University has like a pathways program for Indigenous students into engineering. So it's like a year where you like complete those science prerequisites that you may not have like from Cégep, or just like if you're coming in after high school. And then that's like about a year, I think, and then you can go into like any of the engineering programs at Concordia, and that's not just software. So I think that's just one opportunity, but there are like a lot of similar opportunities that help Indigenous students and like kind of leverage us with those opportunities. But that's just an example.
And Konwawennenhawi, if somebody here wanted to follow a similar path, what do you think they should focus on?
Well, in construction, there's so many different like branches, right? So I was a rod buster. Even just being an iron worker, there's so many different. There's rod busting, there's connecting, so that's like your typical iron worker that you hear about, building skyscrapers and whatnot with all the big beams. There's welding, there's even in trades, there's carpentry, there's so many different things that you can do. So don't just think if you want to be an iron worker or if you want to be in construction that you have to either be a structural iron worker or rod buster or like what I did. There's so many things you can go into, but if you want to do something in construction, just don't be afraid of putting yourself out there, and don't get intimidated by the environment. It can be very intimidating, and it might make you want to think twice about maybe I'm not made for this or whatever. I've known people who've gone from trade to trade to trade. They started out with one thing and then they ended up, they're iron worker, carpentry. I know one girl who did 3 different trades. She's not from town, she's not native, but just realizing that something's not for her and then trying something else because she wanted to remain in construction because she liked working with her hands, she liked to build things, and it is very satisfying to kind of drive down the road and be like, hey, I built that, but also, even if it's something that you feel like you want to do right now, and it might change in the future, don't let that scare you, because it did scare me. This is the first time I'm talking out loud about, my career change, to people other than family, and because I wasn't sure if I was actually 100% ready to leave ironwork. I know now that, I kind of have no choice but to be,
Your body
and I
yes,
will
you're
miss
right.
it, but things do change, and don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of putting yourself out there. Don't be afraid of really going after the things that you feel are, inside you. You know what I mean? Like, don't let anybody hold you back. Don't let anybody try to persuade you into, doing something that, or not doing something that you have your heart set on, or that you really feel is what you're meant to do,
Go on, everybody. I think that your inspiring words and your advice, and I love that everybody kind of has that same sentiment of just have that courage, follow your passions and stick with it, and don't give up on your dreams, they're good. So we are at 11 o'clock on the dot, which is when I would like to wrap up our panel, but also give a chance to anybody in the audience who might have a question, if anybody's brave enough to take the mic and ask, if anyone's interested. But if not, then that is all of our time today. Nyankwa for sitting with us, and thank you everybody for joining.